Hello students, you are welcome in the Economic IAS YouTube channel. As we are going to discuss here GS Economy expected questions for Civil Service 2026 mains. This question is very important. You are not realizing now because some extent deficiency of infrastructure is not attracting you, but as per my experience, after the exam, you will realize when you will see these kinds of questions that you lose and you are a great loser in economics. Teacher's experience can make a student proper IAS. If they are interested to be an IAS officer, if they are running in a crowd similar to other students, they are not using their brain, generally following the duffers, if I say, definitely lose their mains examinations. Today I will discuss very important issue which you have to be seen coming mains 2026, and question is very simple. What are the causes and consequences of Indian rupees depreciation in recent years? As you can see today 3rd July, per dollar is more than 95 rupees. It means somewhere rupees depreciating since this war is going on. That is geopolitical tensions and global uncertainties. War between America, Iran, Israel, Hamas, Russia and Ukraine. That kinds of political, geopolitical uncertainties are depreciating Indian rupees. It is not only the single factor, multiple factor behind it is our working. First, you understand what is the meaning of depreciation, appreciation, devaluation, overvaluation. Generally, when market forces are going to decrease the conversion rate of Indian currency with other currencies. Generally, if we are going to more money pay for the purchasing of 1 rupees in comparison to prior, it means our rupee is depreciating, dollar is appreciating. That is the meaning of depreciation and appreciation. If this is done consciously by the Central Monetary Authority in case of India, if our RBI say that 100 rupees is equal to $1 and they declare the price of dollar in term of rupee 100 rupees, it means this is the devaluation done by the RBI authentically. That is known as devaluation. And vice versa means its opposite is overvaluation. If RBI say 80 rupees is equal to $1, what is the meaning? Overvaluation of rupee in international currency market. Actually, exchange rate means what? Conversion rate of one currency into another. Now, first you understand what is the causes, then you will understand what are the consequences. After then I will discuss according to questions. You have to discuss what are the causes and consequences. This question is complete. But if the question is twisted, I will discuss those points also for you so that you can understand. Now, if you like to understand what are the main causes, as you know, in balance of payment, there are the two accounts in Indian economy: balance of payment, current account and capital account. Because government and private sector are working together, that is why there is no third classification. As in case of developed country, government account. Only two account is there in balance of payment. The account which deals export and import of goods, services and transfer payment is known as current account. And the account which deals in the export and import of capital, that is known as capital account. Now you are clear about the basic concept. Why our rupee is depreciating? First fundamental factor is widening current account deficit. Primarily, America is imposing different kinds of tariff on India. Our prime ministers are working hard and they will try to diversify India's export in other countries. It may be Nordic countries or small countries. He visits here and there so that we can diversify and counter the American high tariff policy imposed on our economy. And some extent government is successfully able to export and diversify its export in other countries, but not adequately. That's why our current account deficit primarily began to increase. After then, America invaded the Venezuela. After then, invaded the Iran. That kinds of things are going to increase the uncertainty in international market. Oil price after the Hormuz Strait crisis and prior after the during the war period, price of petrol, crude oil petrol, which was primarily $70 per barrel, increased up to $120 per barrel. That also increasing the price of the commodity in Indian economy because government of India also increased the petrol and diesel and CNG price in our domestic economy because of that kinds of prices. That's why our current account deficit began to increase. That was primarily less than 1% of GDP, but after this crisis, it increased more than 1.5% of GDP. Increasing current account deficit, what is the main effect of this? Increasing current account deficit means what? This deficit managing capital account either by using the foreign exchange reserve which we have or by borrowing the fund from other countries. If we are taking the borrowing in capital account means we are demanding more dollar and supply of dollar in our market which is generated by the export of goods and services from India to other country. Supply is decreasing, demand of dollar is increasing. That will depreciate the rupee, appreciate the dollar. I can tell you with the help of a diagram. You can see here. Just you can see. Suppose this is the demand of dollar. See, this is the supply of dollar. This is the price of dollar in term of rupee. Suppose priorly 80 rupees is equal to $1. But after the imposition of high tariff by the America on India, what happened? Our export began to fall. Means our supply began to decrease. Dollar supply in India shift from this one to that one, and in this way our demand and supply equilibrium in between dollar demand and supply shift from E dash to E dash. Exchange rate also increased from say 80 rupees per dollar to 90 rupees per dollar or R dash 90 rupees per dollar. Why it is increasing? You analyze very easily. If the demand of dollar is more, supply is less due to less export from India to other countries, it may be goods and services. We are demanding more, means demand of the dollar will increase. It can further increase the exchange rate and say this is 95 rupees per dollar. That kinds of conditions are prevailing in the market because of increasing or widening current account deficit. Second point, foreign capital outflow. As you know, the profit rate on invested capital is the fundamental factor for capital inflow and outflow. If in your domestic economy, profit possibilities are decreasing, why they are decreasing? More tariff imposed by the America on India means if tariff rate is high, our exportable capacity automatically decline. Then the foreign companies or foreign investors, institutional investors, portfolio investors, which have invested their funds in our economy, if they begin to lose the profit because of less of export, because of uncertainty in international environment, they begin to withdraw their funds. In this way, capital or foreign capital dollar will flight in from India and residing in America. At the same time, what happened? America Federal Reserve System increased the market rate of interest and they giving the boost up to their economy by the tariff policy. Their company's profit rate, their economic profit rate began to rise in comparison to India. That's why our foreign capital began to flight from India to another country. You can see with database. That is responsible if foreign capital outflow is there, means supply of foreign capital again began to decrease in our economy, this one to that one. But the demand of foreign currencies or dollar again increasing, that is why again depreciation were there due to this foreign capital outflow. Third point, strengthening of US dollar, as I discussed priorly with you. Why the strengthening of dollar? Multiple factor is there. Once, if you 1 by 2 and 3 point realize here, American monetary policy increased the bank rate, etc. First point, that began to increase the rate of return on invested capital or deposit in American banks. Funds deposit in American. Second point, they were boosting their all over industries. That is also the point. Third point, geopolitical tensions and global uncertainty. I have discussed this point completely. Geopolitical uncertainty is also responsible for that kinds of phenomena. Means demand of dollar is were increasing, supply of dollar in Indian economy were decreasing. That creates that kinds of pressures. Higher import demand. Why the higher import demand? Some commodities are less elastic. What is the meaning of less elastic? Very simple meaning. If you take the example of food, vegetable, pulses, salt, milk, these commodities are highly inelastic in nature. Without these commodities, we can't survive. Take the drinking water. Its elasticity is zero, near to zero. Because without drinking water, even every person can die. That's why essential goods, as you know, petrol, diesel, CNG are the essential goods for India. And round about 90%, 80 to 85%, 80 to 85% of our domestic consumption demand managed by the government by the import of these goods from other countries like Iran, America, etc., Russia. And as the price of these products are begin to increase, our demand of import also begin to increase. Means we are needed more dollar to import the same quantity of petrol, diesel, CNG, etc. Inflation differential. What do you mean by inflation differential? You can understand very simply. If the price of petrol in our economy will increase, transportation charges will increase. That can increase the price of food articles because day to day we are importing from other parts of India or we are transporting some goods, say vegetables from rural to urban India. That will increase the price of these goods. In this way, the inflation will spread in all over the economy. Higher inflation, what happened? Triple P, purchasing power parity theory. What it explains? If the price of the goods are increasing consistently, which is known as inflation, increasing inflation will further depreciate the currency. Because export demand will decline, import demand will increase. More import, less export, current account deficit is more capital account deficit because government will borrow the more fund in capital account. If more borrowing are there, more fiscal deficit is there, means government expenditure is more than government income. That is known as Gaussian effect or clean deficit problem in Indian economy. When current account deficit begin to increase the fiscal deficit, one percent increase in fiscal deficit increase the general price level round about 0.6%. This is the linkage effect. And why fiscal deficit is increasing? Because of more import, less export, because of increasing current account deficit. That kinds of problem is known as what? Inflation. This is known as twin deficit problem, and that is also responsible for pressure on Indian currency, that is depreciation. Is it clear? Why the depreciation? If the inflation is there, more, less export, more demand of dollar, less supply of dollar, more pressure on dollar, rupee, that will depreciate the Indian rupees, appreciate the dollar. These kinds of problems were persisting. 7. If the dollar demand is more, supply is less, automatically that burden on our economy. Suppose priorly we have purchased the dollar say 80 rupees, but now we are purchasing 95 rupees. It means 15 rupees is the external debt which is increasing automatically because of increasing price of dollar. Round about $600 billion, $700 billion we have the debt. If $700 billion, priorly we calculate this value with the rate of 8 rupees, 80 rupees per dollar, and now we are estimating this debt, external debt, at the rate of 95 rupees per dollar. You can understand. If you multiply $700 billion with 80 rupees, this burden of debt, and $700 billion with 95 rupees, this burden of debt definitely higher than this. Now you are able to understand. If that burden is more, that service charge is also more, means more interest payment, again more fiscal deficit. If again more fiscal deficit, again inflation. That kinds of vicious circle is there, and responsible for this depreciation of Indian currencies. As you know, devaluation leads devaluation. Similarly, depreciation are leading to depreciation because of these all fundamental factors which are persisting. But our government successfully manage these kinds of problems through different kinds of trade agreement. Our Prime Minister of India is very rationally signed the agreement with other country, free trade areas, free trade agreement. That kinds of free trade agreement begin to push, and simultaneously under the BRICS, we try to create the new currencies of BRICS countries. India also began to trade with other countries, neighbor country in rupees. That kinds of exercise done by the government began to decrease the demand of dollar, and in this way we are able to some extent check and balance on depreciation on Indian currency. I have discussed the causes. Now the consequences, means what is the effect, what is the adverse effect, what is the positive effect. First I take the positive effect. Generally depreciation of Indian currency will decrease the price of exportable, increase the price of importable. Our export begin to increase, but import begin to decrease because of that kinds of depreciation. But if the depreciation is more, you can see the three major effects of depreciation. Terms of trade effect, price of export upon price of import. Generally we define the terms of trade. That is number second, debt effect, and number third, that is export and import. Terms of trade definitely worse. Price of export, what we say, terms of trade is very technical word, but simply as being GS economy student you can understand. If you divide price of export upon price of import, that is known as terms of trade. What happened? If Indian rupees are depreciating, price of export will decrease, price of import will increase, terms of trade will distort. Means we are exporting more goods with the import of less goods. Suppose before depreciation we are importing one jeans by exporting one shirt, but now we are exporting to search for the import of one jeans from America, that is known as adverse terms of trade. But due to decreasing price, our export will increase more, import will decrease more. That will reduce our current account deficit. That is the possibility. It also increase the remittances because our labor is cheaper in other countries. Our business process outsourcing services are cheaper. We begin to provide more services. Definitely, developed country would like to purchase our services rather than other country because we are cheaper labor provider to the other countries. That can increase our remittances, which is earnings from service from other countries. Or you can say income by the export of services in other countries. Improvement in tourism. By improvement in tourism, we are facilitating all services at a cheaper rate. They have to spend less dollar for the purchasing of food, transportation mean, hotel, etc. in India. Means more visitors can visit in India. That is the positive effect. What are the negative effect? You can see, as I priorly discussed, high current account deficit. Definitely, if your export is less, import is more, current account deficit, and because of Dawson effect or twin deficit problem, that will enhance further current account deficit. That is the reversible reaction in between current account deficit and fiscal deficit. Increase in external debt, I have discussed with you, and pressures on fiscal deficit, I have explained all these points with you. Now you are clear, student, what are the causes and consequences. If UPSC asking this question, simply you can analyze very easily. Question is very interesting, technical. If you have any query, you can ask me what is the mechanism. I will discuss with you again these questions because it is highly expected questions. Today and onward, I will discuss maximally highly important questions, as I am thinking recently by sitting on my chair that maybe they are asking Hindu growth rate versus Bharat growth rate. I will discuss this topic in next lecture. If UPSC asks further these questions and modify it, what are the steps taken by the government for the solution of this depreciation problem? Then you can discuss the multiple steps taken by the government as well as by the Reserve Bank of India to check and balance the depreciating currency. As you know, students, since monetary policy 2020-2004, our government introduced market stabilization system, MSS. Try to understand. What are the steps taken by the RBI to check and balance depreciation of Indian currency? If you try to understand by the diagram, this is say exchange rate, and this is say, or you can say this is the price of $1 in term of rupees. This is the demand and supply of dollar. This is the demand of dollar. This is the supply of dollar. Demand of dollar. If price of dollar in term of rupee is cheaper, actually you have to understand demand of dollar is the derived demand of goods which we are going to import from other country. If their price in term of dollar is cheaper, we will import more. This is our demand. Suppose you are saying here $1 is equal to 1 rupee. 1 rupee. $1 is equal to 1 rupee. This is the exchange rate. At this low price, Indian would like to purchase more commodity. Our demand of dollar is high. If say here, say 1500 rupees is equal to $1. It means in international market, the price of imported goods for India are very dearer, more costlier. They are not demanding these goods. Are you clear? Supply of dollar in India, export of India. If the price of exportable of India in other countries is higher, Indian would like to export more and more commodity in other countries. But if the price of exportable of India in other countries are very low, at this we would not like to export more commodity. Where the two are intersecting, that will determine the exchange rate. or R, exchange rate. Under market stabilization, RBI sell out the dollar in market, purchase the rupee, that increasing the supply of dollar, maintain the exchange rate. Suppose this was 95 and this will again restore at the 80 rupees per dollar because of increasing supply by the RBI in the market. Clear? RBI can also increase the supply by borrowing from other country, by taking debt from other country, by motivating other country to invest more in India by giving different kinds of relaxations, facilitations, etc. In this way, our RBI try to maintain this exchange rate. I have discussed what are the policies taken by the RBI. Then I will discuss about the government. Promotion of what? Our government can also promote the export in other countries by providing subsidies, by providing tax exemptions, by providing direct incentives like capital export promotion capital good scheme. Under this scheme, government facilitate different entrepreneur to import capital goods at subsidized rate. Means more subsidies were given. What the other steps taken by the government? Diversification of export, include new items in exportable items, motivating the other countries entrepreneur to invest more by facilitating them, strengthening macroeconomic fundamentals like fiscal prudence, price stability. These are the some steps taken by the government, and government successfully able to sustain depreciation up to a bearable limit. As you know, this is something about the question. If you listen these questions multiple times, definitely you can realize that this answer is much better than other answer, which I explained here with the help of economic data. And in coming days, I will discuss the highly important questions from different sectors of the economy without chronology. I will discuss different sectors in a complex manner so that you can focus in present only highly important questions. Thank you, students.